The following images are not real. Yes, all of these are not real. These were all generated by the latest and by far the best AI image generator out there right now. And that's exactly what we're going to go over today. So FLUX 1.1 Pro has just been released, and this is the best image generator out there right now. Now I'll link to this page which shows some benchmark scores of FLUX 1.1 Pro and various benchmark metrics compared to other leading image generators out there. But this is boring stuff, so I'll leave this till the end of the video. Let's just jump right in and test this out. So at the time of this recording, there are various platforms where you can use FLUX 1.1 Pro. First one is called Together.ai, and when you sign up for a free account, you actually get $5 in credits, which lets you run around a few dozen generations using FLUX 1.1 Pro. Another platform is called rubberband.com, but rubber is missing an E. Anyways, I'll link to this in the description below. This is another image generator platform, and again, you can sign up for free. And once you do, I think you get around like 10 free images with FLUX 1.1 Pro. Another platform is everart.ai. This also allows you to use FLUX 1.1 Pro, but you do need to pay for some credits before you can use it. Yet another platform is fal.ai. They have a FLUX 1.1 Pro space. However, it costs around 4 cents per megapixel. Yet another place you can use it is, of course, Replicate. This also costs around 4 cents per image. And then you can also use FLUX 1.1 Pro on freepik.com, which I'll link to in the description below. However, you do need to pay for credits in order to use this. So anyways, I'll link to all of these platforms in the description below. I'm sure a lot more other image generator platforms will provide access to FLUX 1.1 Pro in the coming days as well. In this video, I'm going to use Together AI because they give me $5 of credits, which allows me to generate a few dozen images. So it's pretty simple to use. You can adjust the width and the height, and that's pretty much it. There's no steps, there's no CFG scale, there's no negative prompt. You can only enter in a positive prompt. So let's start with something simple like a woman in the city and see what that gives us. So here's what we got. Let me download this. Now you can see this is a typical FLUX generation. It's clearly AI generated. Her face kind of looks too polished, too perfect to look like a real human. And then the background is super blurry. There's a lot of depth of field in these images, which are typical of FLUX generations. So this is clearly AI generated. And you might be wondering, well, how do I get these types of images that you showed at the beginning of the video? So here's a really cool trick. Let me just get rid of this prompt, and instead we are going to write img underscore and any 4 numbers. It doesn't matter. It could be like 1018 or 1019 and then .cr2. So what this is it's actually simulating a file that was created with a Canon camera. So a photo taken from a Canon camera would have this similar file structure. It would have this .cr2 format. And so just with this prompt, let's see what happens. And this is what we get. So let me download this. You can see it's a really amateur photo. It's kind of grainy. It doesn't have that super blurry background or that super professional feel. This looks like just an average photo taken by a regular person. Let's try a few more. So here's another example. Now let's try changing the number, for example. So let's try 25 and see what happens. And here's another regular photo that looks like it was taken by an amateur human. Now, instead of this, you can also add in a simple prompt. So for example, let's write cat here and see what happens. And look at that. This is a really normal photo of a cat. I mean, this does not look AI generated. Or instead of cat, let's write, I don't know, selfie and see what that gives us. And oh my gosh, look at that. Look at this photo. It's very grainy and low quality, and this does not look AI generated. This looks like a real selfie photo taken by someone with their phone. How crazy is that? Now, instead of CR2, you can also try HEIC, and then instead of 25, let's set this to, 28. So right now it's image underscore 1028 HIC. selfie. And let's see what that gives us. And here we go. Here is another pretty amateur looking selfie photo that does not look AI generated. You can see the background is not blurry like the FLUX photos that we've seen before. Now, instead of selfie, let's write party and see what that gives us. And here we go. Look at that. Again, this photo looks very grainy and it doesn't look like a professional, very polished photo that was generated with FLUX. You can see the shadows here are very sharp. I mean, this could very well be just a normal photo that's taken from a nightclub. I mean, we are really at the point where AI photos are becoming indistinguishable from real photos. Now, it's important to note that these types of keywords only work with very simple things like cat or dog or woman. Let's try like old man and see what happens. All right, not bad. This still looks like an amateur photo. However, if you give it a more detailed and longer prompt like a woman at a cafe, let's see what happens. All right, so now we're getting that FLUX AI generated look again, where it looks too perfect, right? The background is super blurry. The woman looks too perfect and polished. The colors are just perfect. This does not look like a real amateur photo. So it seems like this only works by itself or with very short prompts. And if you add another longer description or more detailed description, it actually lowers or removes the influence of this. Keep that in mind. This doesn't work all the time if you add something afterwards, and it's hit or miss. So let's try another one. Let's try 4 friends at a dinner party and see what happens. And here's what we got. I mean, this looks like a real photo. Look at the low quality of this photo, the graininess. This does not look AI generated. There's no blurry background. This just looks like it was taken with a low quality phone. Here's another photo generated with the same prompt. I mean, this is really starting to blur the lines between AI and reality. Now, there are a few other tricks I want to show you. So how do we get these mirror selfie photos like this? First of all, if you just input something like a teenage man taking a mirror selfie, and let's press generate, it's already not bad, as you can see from this generation. However, this looks too good, right? The background is blurry. A phone photo should not look this good. It shouldn't have that much depth of field. So instead of just a teenage man taking a mirror selfie, let's add in some other keywords like low quality phone photo, Snapchat, grainy, and see what that gives us. All right, and here is what we got. You can see slightly better. The background is less blurry and the photo is grainier. Now, for this Apple logo, I'm not sure if you're taking a mirror selfie, should the Apple logo look like this or be reversed? Let me know in the comments below. Here's another trick you can try. So instead of typing in a description, let's try selfie.jpg and see what that gives us. Whoa, look at that. Look at how realistic this is. It's grainy, the background is not blurry, this does not look professional, this looks like a real selfie photo. And note that this is not conventional, alright? So the best practice for prompting FLUX and other leading image generators is you need to give it as much detail as possible. But with this trick, with just typing in the name of the file, you get some really cool results like this. Let's try something else. Let's try dinner, and then, I don't know, underscore, and then let's put a random date. Let's put 2008/11/20.jpg and see what that gives us. Oh my gosh, look at this photo. Again, the realism of this is just absolutely insane. Like, if you just saw this photo on social media, if someone just showed you this photo without giving you any context, at least for me, I would never have guessed that this was AI generated. But this is the level of realism we have achieved right now. Can you imagine what FLUX version 2 would be like? This is just wild. And I mean, you can be very creative. You can try different keywords. So for example, instead of dinner, let's try something like passport_photo and see what that gives us. Oh my God, seriously? That's crazy. It just generated like a fake ID of someone. Now, as you can see, the words are not correct. These don't make any sense besides the word passport over here. But if you ignore the words, holy crap, this looks like a legit photo of someone's ID. This is absolute madness, I'm telling you. All right, instead of passport, let's try yearbook photo and see what that gives us. I'm having too much fun with this. And oh my goodness, we have a yearbook photo of someone. And this looks like a photo that, you're taking on a page of a yearbook. You can see like to the left and to the right of this photo, it's probably another student's photo. This is just absolute madness. And you know what, folks? This gave me another idea. Let's try this out and see what we get. I'm going to write thestate_onlyfans.jpg and see what that gives us. Aren't I a smart guy? And this is what we got. It's a lady who looks very cold, and she's wearing an OnlyFans shirt. Not exactly what I had in mind. Let's try again. Instead of 2022, I think it's too old. OnlyFans didn't even exist back then. Let's try 2022 and see what that gives us. Oh my God, what the hell is this? That is creepy as hell, man. I'm recording this at night right now, and this is creepy. All right, here's another thing to try out. Instead of OnlyFans, let's try verification_photo and see what that gives us. What the hell? What is going on here? This is creepy, man. The photos I'm generating right now are getting creepier and creepier. But let's try verification_photo.jpg and see what that gives us. Whoa, okay, I have no idea what this is. This wasn't really the verification photo I was looking for. I wonder what happens if you scan that QR code. Let me know in the comments if you actually try to scan this and what page it takes you to. Alright, well, enough playing around with this .jpeg or .cr2 or .heic. Basically, this is another technique that you can use, and actually this works with FLUX Dev version 1 as well. This is not limited to FLUX 1.1 Pro. So back to the goal of our video, let's actually test out FLUX 1.1 with some harder prompts. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is, first of all, I'm going to set this to 1024 by 1024, and then I'm going to use a series of quite challenging prompts that I've used to test other image generators before. And I'm going to show you the generation from FLUX 1.1 Pro versus the other top models out there right now, which is FLUX 1 Pro and Ideogram version 2 and Midjourney version 6.1, so you can see for yourself which image generator is the best. So first prompt is a woman doing a Warrior 1 yoga pose at home. Let's see what that gives us. By the way, for your reference, a Warrior 1 yoga pose looks like this. And this is what I got from FLUX 1.1 Pro. You can see it doesn't really understand what the Warrior 1 pose looks like, and the anatomy is kind of off. But again, this is a really hard prompt. So far, none of the image generators I've tested could actually get this, except for Google's Imagen 3 and Dolly 3 to some extent. Anyways, here are the 4 best image generators out there side by side with the same prompt. So you can see all of them are actually quite similar. In terms of realism, it looks like Midjourney did a slightly better job. However, if you look at the hands and fingers of Midjourney, they are just god awful. And then actually FLUX 1.1 Pro and FLUX 1 Pro look very, very similar. I would say there's really no noticeable difference, at least for this prompt, for FLUX 1.1 versus FLUX 1. Alright, next prompt, photo of a man giving a TED Talk. Behind him is a big neon sign with the text TEDx AI search. Spotlight style lighting, soft shadows, sharp focus, shallow depth of field. Let's click generate and see what that gives us. And this is what we got. So this prompt is quite challenging because it needs to generate text. I'm testing if it can actually understand the TEDx logo and also add in some additional text and also make this a neon sign. And it looks like FLUX has no problem understanding that the TEDx logo should look like this. And it got the text correct. However, it is slightly weird that there's a huge space between AI and search, and his head just fits perfectly in between these two words. So that's kind of weird. And then, oh my goodness, here we have 6 fingers on this hand. Now note that although FLUX Pro is one of the best image generators out there, it is way better at getting hands and fingers and feet correct. You sometimes still get flaws. That's just one of the things with generative AI. So here are the 4 image generators side by side. Both FLUX and Ideogram got the TEDx logo correct and got all the text correct. Midjourney is kind of a mess. It cannot generate words and letters correctly. plus the TEDx logo should not look like this. Now, in terms of just comparing FLUX 1.1 Pro with FLUX 1 Pro, again, there's really no noticeable difference. If FLUX 1.1 Pro is better, it's just marginally better. I mean, both of them follow the prompt very well. There are very few software tools that I use every day, but this is one of them. Thanks to our sponsor, TurboType. Basically, you can create custom keyboard shortcuts so that you don't need to keep typing out repetitive things. So check this out. Let's say there's a prompt that I use often in ChatGPT. Let's set the shortcut to /sum, and then I'll type in the prompt that I use often. I can even add in a variable to include any text that I copy. And then let's say I find an article that I want to summarize. Well, I can just copy the URL and then in ChatGPT type in my keyboard shortcut and voila, super quick way to write prompts. You can also drag and drop shortcuts onto any text field. I can also select any text and then right click to easily add it as a shortcut. Finally, it also supports rich text. For example, you can add in bold and italics and add links to your text as well. So let's say I need to send out a lot of cold emails with the following template. Well, I can just create a shortcut for that. And then whenever I start an email, I just need to type in the shortcut and voila, the text is already styled and linked for me. There are hundreds of pre-existing templates that you can choose from, including common prompts for ChatGPT, business, finance, medicine, and more. This tool saves me so much time every day, so definitely check it out and download the free Chrome extension in the link below. Alright, next prompt, low quality Snapchat photo of a teenage man taking a mirror selfie. The photo was shot on a phone and posted in 2015 on Snapchat. Let's see what that gives us. And hey, this is actually very good. Look at the graininess of this photo. This indeed looks like a very low quality selfie photo taken with a phone. And this dude just looks like a regular teenage dude. If I were to point out one flaw, it's that the lenses on his phone are not really aligned properly. But that's pretty much it. His hand looks correct. Everything else in this photo looks pretty damn good. So here are the 4 image generators side by side using the same prompt. Again, quite hard to pick a winner here. Ideogram actually looks very good. You can see it got the lenses on the phone kind of correct. At least it looks better than what we have here. And then FLUX 1 Pro is not bad either, but I would say, I don't know what this stuff on the wall is. I would say the worst one here is, again, Midjourney. The dude is not holding his phone up to the mirror to take a selfie, so it's not really a mirror selfie. But let me know in the comments which one you prefer. I would say in this case, if you just compare FLUX 1.1 Pro to FLUX 1 Pro, this is just my subjective opinion. I prefer 1.1's generation over version 1's generation. All right, next prompt, a teenage woman holding a handwritten note that says verify me 8/2022/2024, low quality selfie photo. Let's click generate and see what that gives us. And here's what we got. So again, this is the typical FLUX look where the background is very blurry and her face looks too perfect and too polished to look like a real human. Now, it got the text mostly correct except for this line here on the F, so that's a noticeable flaw. And then, oh my goodness, look at the fingers. Is this correct? I guess, well, this finger is kind of like splitting into 2 fingers, and then I don't know what this is. So the hands are not correct. And again, this is generative AI. I'm showing you this example because even though FLUX 1.1 Pro is considered to be the best out there, it still sometimes gets hands and fingers incorrect. So just keep that in mind. It's not perfect. And then here are the 4 image generators side by side. In this case, at least for me, I would say the winner is Ideogram. This looks a lot more like a low quality selfie photo. This woman looks like a real person, plus the text is correct. The text looks handwritten and everything just looks more realistic. Both the FLUX generations look way too good. You can see with the blurry background, it looks like a professional DSLR photo, even though we've specified low quality selfie photo. And then in terms of Midjourney, I actually do like the style of this photo. This does look like a low quality selfie photo. However, Midjourney just cannot generate text well. It's missing the me here. There's an extra slash here. So yeah, I would say in this case, at least for me, Ideogram is the winner. FLUX 1.1 Pro versus FLUX 1 Pro. Again, there's not really a noticeable difference in improvement. All right, next prompt, 2 hands making a heart symbol. Let's see what that gives us. And this is what we got. This looks perfect. The hands look very good, and they are indeed making a heart shape. The background looks, again, very blurry. This is very typical of FLUX. So this is really good for like a stock photo, but if you're really going for that amateur low quality photo, then I think this looks too good. And here are the 4 image generators side by side. You can see both the FLUX generations and Ideogram just nail it. I mean, all 3 of these look very realistic. It's hard to point out any flaws with any of these. So I think it's a tie. I think these 3 are tied. And then Midjourney is just a mess. It cannot generate hands and fingers. But I mean, in between these 3, it's really hard to pick a winner. Let me know in the comments what you think. All right, next up is our infamous prompt, a woman showing her palms and soles of feet. Realistic, professional photo, depth of field. This is a very tricky prompt that very few generators have gotten correct. And indeed, look at this. I mean, this looks awful. This is not showing her palms and soles of feet. In fact, let me generate this one more time and see if it's any better. Yeah, you can see this prompt is just really tricky. It throws a lot of video generators off. So, I mean, here's what we got. There's not much more to say other than it's a fail. And here are the 4 image generators side by side. You can see that actually none of these generators actually got the prompt. I think Ideogram is the closest. She is showing her soles of feet, but not her palms. And then both the FLUX generations are pretty awful. Midjourney is missing feet altogether. So yeah, none of these are great. I think maybe for FLUX version 2, it would ace this prompt. But right now, none of these could handle this prompt. And just a really subtle thing I noticed about FLUX 1.1 Pro, it seems like the images are slightly higher in brightness and contrast compared to the other images. And if you go back to the previous slide, again, if you look at FLUX 1.1 Pro, it seems to be higher in brightness and contrast and maybe a bit more saturated too. So that's something to note. All right, next prompt is testing its understanding of context. So the prompt is photo of a red sphere on top of a blue cube. Behind them is a green triangle. On the right is a dog. On the left is a cat. Let's see if it can get this. And here's what we got, and I expected it to ace this. This is indeed a red sphere on top of a blue cube. Behind them is a green triangle. On the right is a dog. On the left is a cat. Nailed it. And FLUX is known to do very well at understanding context and understanding prompts with a lot of detail. So you can see, comparing the 4 image generators, both the FLUX generations are the clear winners. I mean, Ideogram was close, but it added an extra blue sphere in the middle. So, I mean, technically it's still correct. We didn't say that there can't be a blue sphere, but yeah, not as good as the FLUX generations. And then Midjourney is, again, just god awful. It's missing a cat, and is this even a dog? And then there's not really a green triangle in the background. So yeah, there you go. And again, notice how FLUX 1.1 Pro is slightly higher in brightness and contrast and saturation compared to the other images, which may or may not be a good thing depending on what you're going for. All right, next up, another tricky prompt. An astronaut riding a giant snail with an iridescent shell through a desert landscape. The astronaut is waving a flag that says, "I love AI." Again, this is a very tricky prompt that I don't expect a lot of image generators to get correct. There's a lot of things in this prompt, such as an astronaut riding a giant snail. The snail has to have an iridescent shell. They have to be in a desert. Plus, the astronaut has to be waving a flag that has the text, "I love AI." Not a very easy prompt to get correct. Let's see what this gives us. And here is what we got. I would say it's pretty good. This is an astronaut riding a giant snail. The snail does have an iridescent shell, plus the flag does say "I love AI." It's interesting how it replaces the word love with a heart symbol, which I did not really explicitly say to do, but whatever, let's give it the point anyways. And here are the 4 image generators side by side. Again, you can see FLUX 1.1 Pro and FLUX 1 Pro are very similar, but you can see the snail kind of looks better in 1.1 Pro, plus it follows the text better. I would say for this prompt, Ideogram is the winner here, at least to me. This looks very good, everything looks super detailed, and the text is correct. The shell looks very iridescent. The snail looks a lot more realistic compared to all these three snails. So yeah, I would have to give it to ideogram. Speaking of snails, I have shown before that FLUX does not do well with uncommon animals, which I'll show you in a second. Alright, next up, I want to test its generation of different styles. So instead of a realistic photo, now I want to get it to generate a watercolor painting of a whale in the sky. Let's see if it can pull this off. And very good, this is indeed a watercolor painting of a whale in the sky, and the whale does look like a whale. It follows the prompt exactly. I can't really point any noticeable flaws with this. This is really good. So here are the 4 image generators side by side. For this prompt, I would have to say FLUX 1.1 Pro is my preferred choice. This is the watercolor effect I was going for. This does look like a whale, whereas for FLUX 1 Pro, it's not really in the sky. And then this does not look like a whale. I mean, this face just looks weird. And then ideogram is not bad, but again, the whale doesn't look great and it's not really in the sky. And then Midjourney, it seems like it's just in between these waves. Again, it's not really in the sky like I specified. So yeah, I would have to say FLUX 1.1 Pro is the winner here. Again, notice the slightly higher brightness and saturation of its results compared to the other generations. Alright, next, let's test out its ability to generate anime. So the prompt is an anime girl in the city at night. Let's click generate. And this is what we get. Pretty good. I would say one noticeable flaw is that the characters on the signs are still not real characters and they don't produce real words. But none of the image generators right now can actually do that. So if you get it to like generate neon signs in a city at night, all of them will not get the text correct. So there's still room for improvement. Hopefully version 1.3 or version 2 would actually fix this issue. Other than that, I mean, this does look like an anime girl in the city at night. I would say that the background looks a bit too realistic for this to be considered anime, but this is just the typical blurry background that you get with FLUX generations. Here are the 4 image generators side by side. You can see ideogram, the background looks more anime, and this looks like it's coming from an anime show or movie, whereas the FLUX generations look more like, I don't know what you call this, like anime illustrations or posters. And then again, FLUX 1.1 Pro and FLUX 1 Pro look very similar. I would say 1.1 has more details, but I mean, both of them are not bad. And then Midjourney is just weird. This is not anime, this is just digital art. Alright, remember when I said that FLUX sucks at generating uncommon animals? So let's test this out. So the prompt is a Komodo dragon in the forest, its tongue is extended and it appears to be alert and in motion. Realistic photo. Let's click generate and see what that gives us. This is what we got. This is definitely not a Komodo dragon, which for your information looks like this in real life. Fun fact, this is the largest lizard in the world and you can find it in Indonesia. Anyways, back to this photo, you can see it looks nothing like a real Komodo dragon, but this is expected. Like I said, it's known that FLUX sucks at generating uncommon animals. I was hoping that FLUX 1.1 Pro would be better at handling this, but no, it looks like its training data just did not have these photos of uncommon animals. So here are the 4 image generators side by side, and in this case, Midjourney is the clear winner here. This is the only one out of these 4 that can actually generate a Komodo dragon, although its tongue is still kind of wrong. This should be a forked tongue and not like this. But I mean, the other 3 aren't even close. This just made up some dragon-like creature. Note that if you compare FLUX 1.1 Pro with FLUX 1, 1.1 Pro does seem to have more details on the dragon. In fact, let me try something real quick and see if this works. What if I did Komodo underscore dragon, and then let's just put a random date, 2023-1205.jpg, and see what that gives us. Just for fun, I'm not expecting anything fancy here, and this is what we got. Still not a Komodo dragon. Anyways, that sums up my test and comparison of the 4 best image generators out there. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer. At least for me, it seems like FLUX 1.1 Pro isn't really like noticeably better. There's not a huge difference between FLUX 1 Pro. It's just a really slight difference. Now, going back to this page, this is from a third-party independent evaluator called Artificial Analysis. They have this image generator leaderboard, and how this ELO score works is that it takes in these blind test results from users. So users can go in and actually do the blind test, in which they compare two image generators side by side using the same prompt, and the user basically selects which image generator they prefer. Now, you don't know which image generator is on the left, which is on the right, and it could be any one of these models. Now, after a ton of users have done these blind tests, you can see that FLUX 1 Pro is preferred the most. So it has an ELO score of 1153, a win rate of 69%, which is the highest in this table, and then followed by FLUX 1 Pro, followed by Ideogram version 2, and surprisingly, in fourth place is Midjourney version 6.1. If you've been following my channel, in a previous video, I mentioned that there was a mysterious new model on this leaderboard called Blueberry, which appears to beat everything else. Well, it turns out that FLUX 1.1 Pro is the Blueberry model. So back to this blog, they finally revealed that, yes, they've tested FLUX 1.1 Pro under the codename Blueberry in this artificial analysis image arena, and they found that it surpassed all the other models on the leaderboard, and it achieved the highest ELO score. So here are the highlights about FLUX 1.1 Pro. It provides 6 times faster generation than FLUX 1 Pro, while also improving image quality, prompt adherence, and diversity. And another great news is they've also updated FLUX 1 Pro to generate the same output as before, but 2 times faster. They've also announced that FLUX 1.1 Pro will soon be able to generate ultra high resolution images. So you can generate up to 2K images without sacrificing any of the prompt following. And what's crazy is the pricing is actually even cheaper than FLUX 1 Pro. So you can see here, FLUX 1.1 Pro costs 4 cents per image, whereas the previous version, FLUX 1 Pro, costs 5 cents per image. So there really is no reason to continue using FLUX 1 Pro. Now, do keep in mind that the Pro version is closed source, so you can't download this and run it locally. For that, you'll need to either use the dev or the Schnell version. But anyways, that sums up this release of FLUX 1.1 Pro. Hopefully this video gives you a sense of what it can and cannot do, and definitely try out the CR2 or the .jpeg prompts that I shared near the beginning of the video. This allows you to produce really realistic amateur-looking photos that are really hard to tell apart from real photos. Anyways, that's a wrap. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. What impressive things were you able to generate using FLUX 1.1 Pro, and what other cool prompting techniques you've come across. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week. I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel. So to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.